This is the perfect, affordable, everyday tech setup. Last year I showed you my high-end everyday carry, and the single most requested thing, do it again, but make it budget. So ever since then, I've been in the background filtering through thousands of products online and testing literally hundreds of products in person until we got to this. A setup that is dark mode, where everything is USB-C, that makes sure you have the best tech with you at all times, that you will never run out of charge, where it's almost impossible to lose anything. You'll be able to pack for a holiday in literally 60 seconds, all while costing a fraction of my original everyday carry, while also in a lot of ways somehow being better. And the bag is the backbone of that. So for $130, the Almond Oak travel backpack this thing's the pinnacle. So this is a very small company. It's literally designed by one dude. But what's kind of nice about that is you're getting that one dude's completely unfiltered take on what makes the perfect backpack. And it just so happens that theirs is pretty close to mine. Like, this thing is insanely light. It's got pockets in all the places you need them, but not with like every inch of the thing being divided up like you get on some bags. It doesn't have that I'm off on a backpacking trip kind of vibe, which a lot of the other good ones at this price do, but it still has the capacity to be able to let you. Like, I think you're going to be quite shocked at how much I've managed to fit into here. The only things I've noticed are missing are, it would be really nice just to have one quick access area over here for sunglasses or gum or a pen, but then I think this doesn't have that on purpose to make it less appealing to thieves. The zippers are not waterproof, but the rest of the bag is. And the zippers not being waterproof is what allows them to operate much smoother. So the point being, there's not a lot of problems here. But we have only just started cooking, because in here is the Secret Card Protector wallet. Let me tell you, I have been through my fair share of wallets. I've been through Ridge wallets, I've been through Ross wallets, I've been through folding wallets, I've been through pouch wallets, but this is the best wallet that I've tried, while being about half the price. Now, I get it. On the face of it, it does just look like I'm recommending you buy a sheet of metal, but there's actually some very important touches. There's a little bit of fabric on each side, which creates the pressure needed to hold your cards in place without scratching them. You can fit 5 cards into this wallet very easily, and that's making sure that none of them are brushing against each other, which is one of my big pet peeves. To use the thing, you just flick this lever here, and they don't just come out, but they come out in this fan, which makes them easier to see and to grab. And this lever is where you can really tell the difference between this and a low quality wallet. Like, just listen to how this sounds compared to how this sounds. The only critique I have is it can be a little bit fiddly to get hold of this middle card, but then I haven't tested any other wallets that particularly solve that issue. So I love this thing. I think it oozes minimalism without shafting function in the process. Right, so keys in here. Oh yeah, this is another thing I really like about this backpack. In the original version, this was all one pocket, but then there was a bunch of user feedback that all the stuff in this pocket was collecting at the very bottom. So the creator then added this very subtle stitching in between to separate the two, which to me makes each of these two halves the perfect sweet spot. It's the small things. So this is a key organizer from OrbitKey, and I just can't recommend this enough. This is the lowest price that you can pay for something like this without the product feeling like it's cheaped out in any way. It's adjustable, so they say it keeps 7 keys. I would say that's optimistic, but you can assume 5 quite easily. The important thing is that it keeps your keys together. It stops the racket and the scratching of having them constantly clanging into each other and all your other stuff. You can add your car keys onto here, which I would do if I had a car, but I prefer relying on the taxi that is my wife. And I just want you to bear in mind, there is also a whole extra 3 to 5 liters of unused space in there. Okay, the Owala FreeSip, which is just as much fun to use as it is to say. So this is a lock, but it's also a carry handle. And then you press this button to reveal 2 options, the sip and the chug. So if you want to chug your water like with every other bottle, you absolutely can. But it is so good to also be able to sip like this. I've had so many car journeys with my bottle up here like this, where I felt like one speed bump away from torrential downpour on my clothing. And then it's all finished off with, double locking mechanism, which means it just will not leak. And importantly for a travel bag, it's not going to break if you're shoving it into baggage storage compartments. But now we get to the really juicy stuff. I am talking layer 2. And this right here is something that I look for in every backpack I use, because I think this raises the ceiling of how good a backpack can be. It means that your bag can also become your suitcase. So first thing is the U-Green Tech Bag. And remember, heavier things should always go at the bottom. That's kind of what stabilizes your backpack when you're putting it down, but also it stops you crushing stuff. So this is a cheap bag. There's actually nothing particularly special about it when you first look at it, but I just really like it because it doesn't do a lot of the wasteful things that so many other tech bags do. Like, I see so many of them that are really rigid, but then it's really hard to find tech that perfectly fits that rigidity. Or you would just have to go for smaller things and then have loads of wasted space inside. You want a bag with some internal dividers, so you don't just have like a knot of cables every single time you open it up. But you also don't want something with so many dividers that you can't put your big things in there. So this U green is what I've settled on. Okay, let's feast. So this is Flight Flap. It's one of the most affordable, no-brainer purchases if you do a lot of travel. It's like a free-form piece of material that you can form into your own phone stand with like the perfect amount of rigidity so that it can hold your phone, but it's also really easy to bend. It's just so flexible. It's not just for flights. You could use this for cars or trains or literally even like the back of my office chair. Bam, phone stand. So then I had to make the much more complicated decision of earphones. There's a lot of earphones in this sweet spot $40 to $70 price range that people talk very highly of. So I bought them all. I tested them all, and to me there's actually a very clear winner. And it is these, the Anker Liberty 4 NC. NC, or noise cancellation, is, I think it's essential for a pair of earphones that you want to use for everything, because it just makes such a difference to your experience when you're in those loud environments like a train. And these have that, but they also sound so good. Some of the other earphones from Anker sounded a lot muddier. Earfun, which is meant to be a top brand at this price, created a lot more of that feeling of pressure in my ears. The CMF Buds 2, I would say, are the next best option, and they are cheaper, but their noise cancellation isn't as good as these. So for this, it's partly the fact that I've tested all the competing products at this price point, and these are better. And it's also partly the fact that I've tested a lot of things that are much, much higher end and more expensive than these, and this feels like the exact point at which you're not missing out on much. I also really like the case. It's got this really slick, soft touch, matte black finish. It's very in theme for this setup, with also this very sick opening mechanism. And then just 40 hours of battery life, even when you're using the active noise cancellation. And then, just before we get to the back half of this tech bag, lens wipes. These are just for when your tech products every now and again get so out of order, so grimy and so greasy that conventional solutions don't quite cover it. Layer 2, and the first thing here is the Momax universal adapter, which is my absolute favorite plug to take anywhere, because this is your power supply, this is your travel adapter, and this is your USB sockets, all thrown into one package that is literally the most zero effort thing that I use. The only decision that you need to make is just what power level do you go for. It goes all the way up to 170 watts now, but for this setup and for most people, 70 to 100 is the sweet spot. That's like enough power to easily charge anything here while still being pretty small and pretty affordable. Right, here's one thing I've learned the hard way after over 10 years of reviewing consumer tech. There are plenty of things that you can happily cheap out on in the setup, and it doesn't matter. Power banks are not one of them. I paid $80 for this 20,000 mAh Anker Prime power bank, which is about 4 times what you could spend for a 20,000 mAh battery, but there's a few reasons that I think it was worth it. Not all milliamp hours are the same. A well-optimized power bank with an intelligent chip inside and high-quality cells could literally get you 20% more juice than a lower-quality power bank with the exact same theoretical capacity. So that's like an entirely extra, completely free 50% charge for your smartphone. And that efficiency also then means that you're saving size and weight, because now you don't have to go for something bigger. B, that it has a really high max wattage at 200 watts, which is slightly overkill, but it does mean that you could have your laptop, you could have any smartphone, and you could have your earphones all on charge at the same time, and everything will be charging at their max speeds. I've got a laptop recommendation as part of this setup, and this power bank will charge that laptop faster than the adapter that comes with the laptop. The software, this is more of a nice to have optional extra, but I really like seeing exactly how much charge the battery has left, and when you're charging other things, being able to see how fast they're charging. And then finally, just these pins at the bottom, which allow it to connect to Anker's power base. I realize this is quite an extra thing to do, but if you were trying to optimize to the extreme, then having 2 of these power banks and one of these power bases allows you to swap one out whenever you've just come back from a trip, and your full one is immediately then packed and ready to go for the next one. So you can go there. I did also really like the idea of Anker's laptop power bank. This is like super high capacity, really fast, with also 2 USB-C cables baked inside of it. You've got one that unhooks like this, and then you've got another one, which is part of one of the most satisfying retractable cable mechanisms I've ever interacted with. But it's just, if you're trying to build a setup that works for any situation, then you're going to need 2 of your own USB-C cables anyway, because you're quite likely to want to plug something into the mains. Let's say you want to charge both your phone and laptop overnight. So then at that point, if you are packing these USB-C cables anyway, why go for a power bank that takes up more space and is heavier just to have 2 more USB-C cables? See what I mean? So get this, and then also get 2 of these Amazon Basics USB-C to Cs. Basics sounds a little off-putting. It always makes me think of those ultra-budget supermarket own brands, but this is more basic in the sense that it's everything you need and it's nothing more than that. It's not bad. This is the cheapest reliable cable that I've used that is USB-IF certified, which is a quality standard that's always worth checking for. These do both charging and data transfer, and they're fast enough that nothing is being bottlenecked in this setup. Now, if you do want to go a little fancy, then Baseus does do a retractable cable that does support 100-watt charging speeds. I do really like this. It saves a bit of space and it's going to completely prevent the cable tangling up. But then it does add a bit of weight and a bit of cost, so it's up to you. And then the last thing here is the one that I had the most fun with. I decided a few months ago that I also wanted to have a speaker as part of my everyday carry. There's just too many times that I wish I'd packed one. The challenge has been finding a speaker that is portable, it's affordable, and it's enough better than your phone speaker to justify taking a whole extra gadget. I basically narrowed it down to my favorite 2, the JBL Go 4 and the Anker Soundcore Select 4 Go. And I was literally sitting in my living room with one phone connected to each, doing blind tests, going back and forth between them until eventually deciding the Anker sounds a fraction better, which ultimately made this a very easy decision because this is also the more affordable speaker with about 50% more battery life at the same volume. All of this makes me so happy. The theme is so consistent and everything charges with USB-C. It makes sense. And yes, it is a bit of a sweep for Anker in this setup. They're not sponsoring this video. I've just found that they tend to be very good at hitting that sweet spot of you're not being cheap, you want something with high performance, but you also don't just want to throw money at the problem and find the very, very highest end thing there is. So then we got the liquids bag from a company called Osprey. And I'm not about to sit here reviewing cleansers, but a couple of cool things. This bag is the exact max size that still means you're going to have 0 issues with any kind of travel security checks. And it's transparent. So it's not just that, it serves the purpose of telling you if you've gone over the limit or not. It means you don't even need to take your stuff out when going through those security checks. Second thing is if you can pick products that can fit vertically in this, you're going to save yourself so much of the hassle of fumbling around inside your wash bags like I've seen so many people do. And then 3 is something that I've only just discovered recently, but this is the Travelo Atomizer, and I freaking love it. So instead of taking your big fancy bottles of perfume everywhere you go, you just stick this inside, you pump a few times, and now you have what I would say is exactly a holiday-sized portion of that scent, but in a quarter of the volume. The other cool thing about this is clothing. And I don't mean this in like a check out my fit kind of way. This one packing cube, this is from Prezon, has 0 exaggeration, 4 days of clothing. Underwear, socks included. That's 5 days if you include what you're wearing when you leave, and 8 days if you do this. An extra zip that creates an entirely new layer. 8 days. I mean, let's call it 6, assuming you pack heavier. This is absolutely insane for something that doesn't look any bigger than like a school bag and also has every single other thing that you could possibly want to carry with you. I'm not exaggerating when I say packing cubes like this are one of the most essential parts of the way this setup works, because it's easy. It's not one of those like vacuum pack type deals that no one's going to realistically do regularly. It keeps your clothes together, it reduces the amount of creasing, and if you need to squish them down, you can do so with this extra zip here that just tightens it. But the main reason that I think these are such a game changer is when you get to your hotel on the other end of your travel, having these packing cubes means within 30 seconds, you take this out, you use this zip to condense your backpack. Assuming I hadn't spent the last 10 minutes dissecting every part of this setup, you would have converted your suitcase into your daily, everyday carry for while you're going out on day trips on holiday. It really is a surprising amount of clothing in here. Oh, also, a little sprinkle on top, the packing cubes did come with a free laundry bag. And this is great because this way you keep your dirty clothes to create a physical barrier between them and your clean clothes. And then just before layer 3, so you've got a little hidden pocket at the back here. This would be for your passports and things like that. And I have also placed an AirTag in there. This is by far the most cost-effective way to have a decent chance of being able to recover the bag should you ever leave it somewhere. And you can get cheaper, but this is one of those rare cases where I genuinely think the actual category-leading product is super affordable. This is only $29. If you're on Android, your best bet is tile trackers, but I don't find them as good because there's just a much smaller network of devices that can pick up their location. So in layer 3, there is a little pocket for this. This is the Uniball Jetstream. It's cheap, it glides on paper, and it's a black biro, which is what most documents are going to require. And then, smartwatch. I like my Apple Watch, don't get me wrong, but for the price, I actually think this is better. This is the Amazfit Active 2. And when I first heard that name, I was skeptical. I was like, Amazfit? That really does sound like one of those like Amazon Marketplace, let me just create a brand in 10 minutes kind of deals. But this has been on my wrist for a few weeks now, and I think this is better than the Fitbit. I think this is better than the Xiaomi Band. It's just the whole package with surprisingly little compromise. The screen is amazing and circular, which I think for a watch makes it look a lot better than the squarer Apple Watch. The app and the user interface is really polished. It doesn't lag, it doesn't feel cheap, and it works well with both iPhones and Androids. It charges with the same USB-C cables that we've already packed for this bag, which is unlike the Fitbit and the Xiaomi that come with their own proprietary connections that connect to USB-As. And it's a really good fitness tracker. Like, heart rate measurements are spot on, the step counting is fantastic. Calories, it definitely veers towards the lower side, but then my Apple Watch is generally too generous. And so between the two, what would you rather have? Oh yeah, and then unlike an Apple Watch, which lasts a day, this literally, no exaggeration, lasts 7 days on a charge. So you can do your entire holiday, both in terms of clothes and watch, without needing to change. Right, so the other cool thing about the back section of this bag is there are 2 separators. So 3 sections for laptops, iPads, things like that. But since we're going for the best affordable sweet spot here, most people should just go for one of those things. And if you're asking me which is the thing to go for, I would say this. The MacBook Air 13-inch with the M4 chip. It's not a brave choice, it's not an unexpected choice, but I think it's one of the best choices. Assuming you're buying a computer for what most people are buying a computer for, internet, documents, presentations, there isn't another laptop you can get that has this combination of battery life, screen quality, build quality, and this trackpad. You can also go for the 15-inch, which is the one I have here, but 13 is the best value. The M3 chip can be had for like 20% less than even that, with very little noticeable difference. The only thing left to do now when you go away is to just make sure you have your mobile data sorted. So I'm going away to Peru later this year. I could either order a physical local SIM, but realistically it's just going to be a massive hassle. Or I open up Saily, our sponsor, Peru, pick the package that suits me. I'm not going to need more than 5 gigabytes, so that will be $28. Click continue and done. So it takes 1 minute to pack this bag, assuming you don't take everything apart like I've done here. And then literally by the end of the 2nd minute, you can have your data package sorted. The very first time you set up an eSIM, there is a couple more steps, but the thing that's particularly cool about Saily is that as soon as you've done that setup once, you can add all future countries that you want to travel to that one eSIM, as opposed to having to set up a new one each time. With also an included VPN, so that I can watch Netflix shows from back home while I'm away, which I probably will, and an ad blocker and web protection built in case I want to use public Wi-Fi networks, which I probably will. So go to saily.com/boss and use our code BOSS to get an exclusive 15% off all Saily plans.